Hello, hi everyone. I hope you are doing well. It's really nice to this webinar. We're going to wait a few minutes so that more people arrive. But while we are waiting, maybe you could tell us where you are in the world, because I think we have people from kind of all over the world. So it's maybe interesting to know where you are. I see 40 people for now. We might be more than 200. So I see that there is someone from Monaco, Netherlands.
Great.
It's really nice. Egypt. So we are Benin. Benin. In French. Rome, Italy. So yeah, we have people. Thailand.
Oh, that's great.
Qatar. Really nice. So yeah, we really have people from all over the world, Vietnam, Tanzania, Angola.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's really nice. It's such a global webinar. Really nice. Switzerland, Riyadh, India, Hungary, France, Ivory Coast, South Korea. I've been living in South Korea. I love this place. Canada might be very cold right now over there. Sweden, Malawi, really, really cool.
Nice.
Okay, so we're just maybe gonna wait maybe a few more minutes, 1 more minute, so that more people arrive. Hong Kong, France.
Oh, that's
So
great. And
yeah,
Marie-Gabrielle,
that's
you are in Paris,
I
from what I
am in
understand.
Paris.
Yes, and
Yeah,
Thomas as well.
not so exotic, but yeah. And Thomas, you're in Paris. And where are you, Patricia?
I am in Aix-en-Provence.
Ah, really
Yes,
nice.
sunny Aix. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's sunny. Not
The south of
well,
France.
Yes.
it's quite sunny in here too.
You know,
Japan.
Hong Kong
from
from
Japan as well. Oh, great.
So we have a lot of different
place in Japan.
time slots also.
Oh, yes. I wonder what time it is in Japan. Is it in the evening?
I think it's very late.
It's very
I think
late.
it's like 7 p.m.
Okay. Yeah, well, thank you so much to everybody for joining us from all over the
Yeah.
world.
We hope we are living up to your expectations. But you might learn some really, really good informations. So you are all here because as insured members for Preventer, by Preventer, you have access to mental health, to a new mental health platform that Preventer offers to all its insured member. So it is called Caring, and it is in partnership with EUTELMED. So the theme of the webinar today is about mental health issues, and especially for expatriates, for international employees. The question will be when, how, and where to ask for help. We know that you have specific issues, specific questions to address as expatriates. So the point today is really to give you the most important information so that you can address those issues and live your experience at its best. At first, Thomas will introduce you how the platform Caring works. So you have access to it through the Preventer, through your insured members area with Preventer. You have a little section. You can click on it, and then you will be sent to the Caring by EUTELMED platform. Maybe Thomas, we can start.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, Marie-Gabrielle. And thank you to everyone all around the world. Patricia, next slide, maybe. Again, the next one. Next one, Patricia. Yes, perfect. So thank you, everyone. I'm Thomas. No, the first one. Before it, and don't move. I think there is some time difference between the evolution of the presentation. So thank you, everyone. I'm Thomas. I'm a business engineer in EUTELMED, and I'm here to present to you very briefly to then let the speech, let the no presentation, not visible. We may have, do you all see the presentation or not? Or I'm the only one because I see that Carla is not seeing it. Yes, some can see and the other can't see. So I don't know, not seeing any presentation. Maybe Patricia stop sharing and resharing again.
Can I stop? All right,
maybe
sure.
able the one stop sharing
Sure,
and
I'll do that.
resharing it.
Okay.
At the same slide.
Yeah, I think we have
Okay.
a few seconds of you talk and the presentation. There is a few seconds of delay.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I
I
guess
hope,
it might be on my
some
end.
people are not seeing it at all. Yes.
I hope the network is going to improve a bit.
But I will.
Yes. Are you able to see it now?
Oh, not
It is
yet.
launching, but no, it's not.
Oh, okay. Maybe I might have some connection
Yes,
issues
okay.
in my.
it.
Okay.
It is now. So just know that there is a bit of
Okay.
delay between when you speak and
It
when
seems to be
you
good
change
now. Perfect.
Okay.
So you have access, as Marie-Gabrielle told you, to a prevention platform which is called Caring by EUTELMED. What is Caring by EUTELMED? It's a prevention and a support platform dedicated to the mental health in the workplace. It has been designed by psychologists to provide you with tools which will help you at every step of the prevention and the support. And the two terms are very important, prevention and support, because as you can see on the right side of the screen, for the one who sees the screen, but I hope everyone is seeing it, you have different areas. Of course, you can visit the area you need and you want. You will find in this area advice and help for every issue you may face in your personal and your professional life. It's unlimited, it's confidential, and it's anonymous. So feel free to go to them. You have, if I had to present it very briefly, a self-assessment area where you will find questionnaires to help you objectively assess your level of well-being regarding specific fields, such as the stress, the sleep, the quality of your sleep, your overall well-being. So it's a very interesting tool to have objective valuation of your mental health. Then you have an awareness area, which is basically a blog with different content, such as articles, video, webinars, speaking about personal well-being, professional well-being, but also the field dedicated to expatriation and management and HR. So you have an awareness of all this field, and of course, practical advice to how to put in place to be better or to remain in a good mental health. Then you also have an e-learning area. In the e-learning area, you will have several modules. I don't know if some of you have visited this area. You can maybe tell it in the comment area if you have visited, if you have read an article, make an assessment of e-learning. It's also interesting to have your feedback on it. So on the e-learning area, you will have several modules to improve your skills to manage your well-being. So there are very short modules between 10 and 15 minutes, very interactive, very enjoyable, and very powerful to help you get skills to manage your well-being. Yes, it's open also to your family, so your children, your partners, etc. And I will give you the link. I will give you how to access it later on. I'm reading also the comments while I'm presenting the situation. Then this is the prevention part. And you also have a support part, which firstly, a 24/7 helpline. So thanks to this area, you can have access to a psychologist. So it's a direct access to a psychologist, not a counselor, not anyone. It's a psychologist, a trained and experienced psychologist in 6 languages: French, English, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and Chinese. And you can talk to them any time of the days, 8 days a week, for any topics you may have. So for I already not only a helpline when you are not well. Of course, if you are not well, you can call the care line, the helpline support and advice. But it's a daily support. For example, if you are stressed by a meeting, You can call the helpline and you will get advice on how to manage your stress and prepare your meeting peacefully. If you're a manager and you see that someone is not well and you don't know how to help this person, you can call the helpline and you will have advice in your management or HR role to support your teams. And any situation you may face, the connection is not great.
No, it's
Okay.
cutting a bit.
No.
Just a question.
okay.
How many sessions are
Okay.
included?
So everything I have presented is unlimited. And then you have a consultation by appointment. And this is an area where you can have appointment with psychologists in your own languages and culture, because we cover more than 60 languages and culture. So you make an appointment and it's like a physical consultation with a psychologist. And this is at your expenses, so it's unlimited, but you can be reimbursed by your medical plan. So this is the only part that you have to have a personal account. The rest is totally anonymous, and totally free of charge for you. It's only the consultation, which is a teleconsultation platform. Sorry, I'm speaking too quickly. But everything is recorded, and you will be able to see it again. And I don't want to take too much time to present to you, Karen, because I want to leave the floor to Patricia. So Patricia, if you can go to the next slide.
There we go.
Yes, for the consultation, yes. Yes, it's a unique fee. Exactly. So how you can access this program? It's very simple. Go on your members area on PREVINTER, and on the right of the left part of the screen, your healthcare. And if you scroll it down, you will find well-being and mental health. So by clicking on that link, you will have access to the platform. And if I'm speaking too quickly, go on the platform, visit it, talk to it around yourself. Yes, according to a guarantee. Exactly. I see that in the comments. And there it is. It's very simple. It's anonymous and limited. So feel free, use it as prevention and support. And now, thank you for your attention. I leave the floor to Patricia to talk about mental health issues.
Thank you so much, Thomas. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. And also, I would like the webinar to be as interactive as possible. So please feel free to ask questions. Let's not wait until the very end, especially because we don't have too much time. All right, so just a little presentation. My name is Patricia Ngube. I am a clinical psychologist at EUTELMED. I joined the team back in 2019. I am originally from Zimbabwe. So I think the person from Malawi, we are almost neighbors. So and thank you so much for joining us today. Please take what you need to take from the webinar. Some things will resonate, some things won't. And I find that sometimes things resonate, in maybe a couple of months, maybe when you're going through a situation. So yes, please just keep that in mind. Okay, so, and I hope you can hear me well. I took the opportunity when Thomas was speaking to change rooms and my internet. So I hope you can hear me correctly. Marie-Gabrielle, everything is okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
right.
it's perfect. I think your connection is really great. Yeah,
okay.
I think Thomas' connection was less good, but yours is perfect.
Okay,
Great.
thank you. Okay, so distress. All right, that's a good way to introduce the topic. So let's get started. So is stress good or bad to people? And unfortunately, with these slides, the answer is already there at the bottom. It should have come afterwards. But yes, so stress is not good or bad. It's a normal physiological reaction to an outside situation that is changed, that is asking us to adapt more or to use more of our resources. So stress can be good on a short-term basis. It inspires, it motivates, it helps you to focus, and it enhances performance. So with the stressful situation, you get all these hormones that are released, like adrenaline, the hormone that pushes you to act. So it's not always a bad thing. But however, when we talk about bad stress, this is the distinction. It is the kind that wears you out. It's not the kind that boosts your energy. It's the kind that makes you not want to get up out of bed or just feel tired. Even when you sleep 8 hours, you don't feel that you're doing okay. So that is the bad stress that we want to avoid. Okay. So the answer there, it can be both. So good stress, bad stress. It's knowing the distinction, and we're going to look into this. And like Marie-Gabrielle mentioned, we're going to put special focus on expat situations towards the end. So I'll go rather quickly with this part. All right, so work. Does work cause distress? True or false? All right, so the answer from the World Health Organization is that work is good for our health. It gives us a place to go, some objectivity, all right? It makes us feel productive. So work is good. But we need to analyze the conditions. The conditions of your work situation could have effects on you. All right. So this is where we also come in. As psychologists at UTMed, we have experience in fields, but especially workplace issues. And we have a network of 350 professionals, Toma, if I'm not mistaken, who also have experience in expatriation and repatriation. So we have tools to help you as much as possible. And the thing that is about stress, we need to identify, exceptional stresses. All right. So these are easier to spot. You have a traumatic situation happening in your personal life or in your work life, it's very obvious. So you will try to get resources, you'll try to adapt, and you don't have to explain anything to anybody because it's just that obvious. So these are exceptional stresses. They're easier to spot. They draw your attention. You don't have a choice. But the daily and chronic stresses, these are the insidious ones, right? And the word insidious, I use it very much so for burnout situations. So these stresses, we don't really notice them, or even if we do, we trivialize them, we minimize them, or sometimes we're in denial about them. And this is when there's an accumulation of stress. So remember, the good stress, all right? It's it's a precise moment in time. Something has happened. I need to adapt. I need to find resources. Okay. And the event happens and then it comes to an end. But with these stresses, you keep on going. You keep on going. And especially if your coping mechanism is to deny or ignore, that means that there's no way that you're getting help. And we specialize in psychosocial risk prevention. All right. So just a little highlight, psycho, individual. Social is the part with the work, where there's with the work situation, your colleagues, your managers, everything. So when these two meet at an interface like this, that's when we get psychosocial risks, and they have an impact on us. So the work conditions have an impact on us. And one thing I just wanted us to look at quick, because we talked about stress, is depression. All right. So depression is something that can come when maybe the work situation is a bit difficult and there's an accumulation of things. So it's a mental disorder that's characterized by a loss of interest in one's usual activities, great sadness. Sometimes there's low self-esteem, and then there's feelings of guilt. And what happens then is that things go round and round because you're not feeling well, maybe you're a bit less productive. And because you're less productive, you start feeling guilty. And then maybe you try to overcompensate, but then it's not going away. And then you have feelings of you struggle with concentrating. And to understand how sometimes you get to depression and burnout and chronic stress, we have to understand the mechanism. Our bodies are built to endure stress. They are, all right? There's the hormones that are released, the adrenaline, all right? So there's a situation, okay, I'm going to cope, I'm going to resist, I'm going to resist. But our bodies are not equipped to handle long-term durations of stress. Okay, so the visual imagery that I have is, imagine you have a sponge in your hand, and as you're squeezing the sponge, you're actually putting stress on the sponge, right? A normal sponge that you use to clean your dishes. And then it endures and it endures and it endures, all right? And when you release your hand, the sponge will take some time to get back to its original form because you've released the stress, you've released the pressure. And so our bodies will adapt after a stressful event. We'll still have some symptoms because our bodies are getting back to normal. But if the stressor continues, we go from resistance to fatigue, all right? Épuisement, fatigue, all right? That means that now our bodies are failing to regulate the hormone system. We're flooded. There's too much cortisol. Cortisol, we have cortisol all the time. It fluctuates during the day, but now there's just too much cortisol in the blood system. All right, so spotlight on work stresses. Please tell me if I'm going quickly because I want to get to the expat issues. All right, so there's increasing pressure, there's changes, there's frustrations, difficult relationships. So occupational stresses have become decreasingly physical, but increasingly psychological. This is why we talk a lot more about the psychological implications of work on our lives and how best to deal with it. This has been a topic for the past 10 years, but I think it was accentuated by 2020, by COVID, and lots more people understood now because it was evident that, oh, okay, so this can have an impact on my life. All right, so with psychology, one of the first things that you need to do is to be able to identify and be conscious of your state of mind, your physical state. So, and again, I like I mentioned, stress is normal. We're equipped to handle stress. So we can have these symptoms for some time and it's normal. It's not because you're showing signs of stress that there's something pathologically wrong. No, sometimes it's normal. But you need to be aware of them so that you know how to take care of yourself and understand what you need. So the emotional signs, irritation, impatience, anxiety, depression, all right? And I think from my experience living in Paris, everyone is very impatient, right? In the metro, it's an experience. So people are showing even outside signs of emotional stress, the impatience, right? The tone of voice as well. So be conscious of that. There's the behavioral signs, isolation, disinterest during meetings. So this is in a workplace setting, conflicts, making mistakes. So this is something you can observe in yourself, but this is something that you can also observe in other people. So maybe if you have a role as a manager, if you're asking yourself, how do I make sure that I know that the team is doing well? These are the signs that you need to observe, right? And I hear that people are joining us from all over the world. So maybe you're managing teams that are not even in the same country as you. These are things that you need to, okay, so, I know that Tom hardly ever makes mistakes. I know that Tom is outgoing, all right? But he's not, talking as much during meetings. What's going on? Right? And the cognitive signs, difficulty concentrating, memory problems. You ask about an email that they sent yesterday. They don't even remember sending out the email, right? And then there's the physical signs. The physical signs, I think, are a bit more obvious. The fatigue, the headaches, the back pains. So these are psychosomatic signs. Digestive problems. And even I would add, because the skin, the skin is the largest organ of the body, some people start having hives or rashes. Those are physical signs to show that maybe these are now signs that someone is in distress. Highlight on burnout. I'm just going to check the time real quickly. All right. The first thing that I always want to talk about when we mention burnout is that it happens to very strong people, to people with a lot of resources. The insidious thing is that they don't see it coming. Some people wake up one day and they feel depleted. All right, because they have so many resources in them, they keep on giving out, and they're not aware of their warning signs, because usually, even though sometimes they're warning signs, They handle them and they move on. But with burnout, it really it comes in and it stays for some time. All right. So some of the signs are physical exhaustion, right? Permanent feelings of fatigue. No matter what happens, whether you eat, you sleep, you're just fatigued. The emotional exhaustion as well. Um, Loss of enthusiasm, difficulty investing in relationships, the mental exhaustion. All right. But I know burnout can sometimes mimic other situations. So it's good to be able to talk to someone when you think that you're struggling with burnout. And by the way, we don't go from not burnt out to burnt out. There's levels of it. All right. And especially when you couple that with a loss of sense in one's job, that's when we really get to a very profound state of burnout. All right. So consequences, things that we know that we can imagine when we're at work. For employees, there's withdrawal in their work situation. My apologies. Feeling misunderstood, feeling incompetent. All right. All right. So beyond 15 days, warning signs. All right. That something needs to be done. All right. So there's impacts as well on performance, demotivation, difficulty concentrating, errors. So that can affect a person on an individual level, but then again, it can affect the team or the company as well. So the personal consequences is that now there's no separation between the work life and the home life. So I'm going to take home all these situations with me because it's hard to disconnect because I'm constantly worrying, constantly thinking about work. So even the interpersonal relationships are affected. In what sense? I'll just give an example. I don't feel I have time to go out and see my family and friends, right? I won't be social because I feel like I constantly have to be working or thinking about work. So that can have an effect. There's workplace accidents as well. And then in very drastic situations that we really try to prevent, it could be a suicide. So these things are an accumulation over time of these issues. So it's important for us not to ignore them. And so it leads us to this part where we talk about issues faced by expats. All right. So cultural distance, right? So what is that? Cultural distance is defined as the degree to which you share norms and values, and they differ from one country to another. A good example for this is how you can imagine that if maybe you're in a European country and you go live in another European country, you think, oh, it's fine. It's still in Europe. And you might be actually surprised to find that you feel like there's a great cultural barrier as opposed to maybe when I went to stay in South Korea. And it might be surprising. A very good example, I don't know if people can put thumbs up, but for those people who eat French fries, we enjoy eating French fries, universally loved food. How many of you put vinegar in your French fries? If the answer is yes, just give a thumbs up. I wish I could see. Aha. Aha. So we've got a couple of thumbs up. All right. And how many people think that the idea of putting vinegar in their French fries is absolutely abominable? You can't even imagine doing such a horrendous thing. I've got one. I have a lot more thumbs up. You see, and this is shocking. I had no idea that people actually ate their French fries without vinegar. I thought this was a universally understood thing. All right. So if I would like French fries with vinegar, I have to cross the border and go all the way to Belgium. All right. But if you're from England, I think you do have vinegar. Then when you come to France, it's those tiny strange things. And I use food as an example because I think most of us enjoy food. And one experience that I had here when I first came was I was trying to buy a hot dog and there was cheese on the hot dog. And I asked the lady, is it possible maybe to have a hot dog with no cheese? And she looked at me like I had three heads and she said, but we always eat hot dogs with cheese. And so we're both standing there looking at each other. I was defending my right to eat my hot dog with no cheese, and she was defending her right. So you see all these different things and the cultural distance and unexpected things that can happen. The most important thing is to understand that this is a study that came out in 2023. It says that most difficulties faced by expat populations are related to personal matters rather than professional ones. It means that for an expatriation to be a success, the employee and his or her family must be taken care of, especially prior and at the beginning of the project of expatriation. So preparation, 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 anticipation as much as possible. I know that it seems obvious, but then what are the tools that we have to prepare for the expatriation? I know we prepare a lot on the physical side, the medical checkups, but it's important to touch base and talk maybe to an expert, it could be a psychologist, on what your expectations are, what your fears are, and it depends on the situation as well. Are you uh, going to this new country on your own? Are you going with your family? Are you leaving your family behind? There's so many things as well, So there's some of these situations where you could feel lonely. The language barrier, right? Missing family members, right? So having this understanding of some of the difficulties that you might face might help you prepare. So there's a difference between anticipating and being anxious. Sometimes you can become anxious because we haven't spoken, we haven't put words to the situation. So having this moment where you can exteriorize and talk about it. And even if you're going with your family, have them come along as well, especially with the kids. Help them to prepare. And if they're at a certain age, maybe they can vocalize their fears. I'm scared of leaving my friends behind. Maybe I won't make new friends, right? So prepare as much as possible. All right. So the stress before departure. And again, I want to say it's normal to feel some stress. It is stressful, right? So, okay, so when you arrive in the country, there's different phases as well. We'll look at that in the next slide. And there's also the duration of the stay. There's sometimes where there's a loss of bearings. There's an emotional pendulum as well, contradictory emotions. I'm happy, but I'm upset. And then there's the work situation, the pressure that you feel. Expatriates feel they have to succeed in their mission more than others. They put themselves under more pressure. And it brings us to the reasons. What were the reasons for this expatriation? Was it adventure? Was it for work? Was it for financial reasons? Was it all of the above? Right? So, okay, we need to analyze the vulnerability factors. All right, so again, this is all about the preparation. How? Why? Was it a choice? Was it not a choice? That changes the way you're going to leave and go to the next country. What's the family situation? What's the physical and mental health of the expatriate? Are there things that you need to anticipate? Before I even go to the country, maybe I need to find a list of healthcare professionals that allows you to know that, okay, so my child maybe has special needs. Those needs are going to be met when we get there. I've talked to the person. I have scheduled a session, right? The couple might be tried if you're going as a couple. What's my spouse's situation? Is my husband going to be working remotely? Is my wife going to be working remotely? Are they not working? How are they going to adapt? So all these things are vulnerability factors. The link to the country. Have you been there before? Is it very far removed from your own culture? So once you get there, when you've addressed all these things as much as possible, understanding your own vulnerability factors, again, it's not a judgment, it's not a bad or good thing. We all have vulnerability factors. It's the way of life. And when we get to a country, there's this U-curve of adjustment, right? So these are not things set in stone. It might be different for some people, but generally, there's the honeymoon phase. Everything is new. The sun is shining. The people are lovely. The food is great. So at first, there's the honeymoon phase. And then as we go down, when you finally it sinks in that, oh, we're here for the long run. Oh, this is it. Maybe kids are going to school. This is how our new reality is. There could be a cultural shock. right? Especially now when you're interacting more and more with people, you realize that, oh, maybe our communication styles are not the same. And that might require you to go through an adjustment period, right? So at this moment in time, you need resources. If it's a different culture, maybe you need a cultural coach. Maybe you need to reach out to some of the colleagues who've been there for a while and talk about it. And maybe they can give you their own resources. And again, with the adjustment period, you ask people, but also allow yourself time to explore as much as possible. All right. Because maybe you're going to ask your colleague who hasn't been having an easy time. So maybe they won't be able to give you the support that you need. So have different people give you different levels of advice, but also allow yourself to explore as much as possible, especially if maybe the country is safe and you can travel and really immerse yourself in the culture. That would be great. Because what tends to happen sometimes when we expats is we go and we stay with a specific community of expats as well because it feels safer, and then we don't go outside of it. So we don't really explore and enjoy the culture of where we are as much as possible. So as we're adjusting and as time goes on, we get to a phase where we feel that we've mastered, where we are. We understand the things that, are different, and we're able to communicate effectively our own differences in a safe and positive way. All right. So impact on family and professional life for expatriates. On the family sphere, there could be some increased stress. There could be difficulties integrating or adapting within the family if you moved as a family. So these are the things that you need to address. What are the needs of the people in my family? What are my needs? How can we make sure that we are helping each other and not self-isolating? No, and pretending that things are okay. So again, it's about also being brave enough to face the things that are difficult, and then having the tools and resources to help the situation. All right. So again, there could be difficulties in finding a work-life balance. Again, because of maybe the pressure that we put on ourselves to be excellent, to excel. But you need to make sure that you have this sort of balance. The paradoxical thing about working too much, because we think, oh, maybe that's how it shows I'm investing and I'm progressing, is that in the long run, it leaves us tired because there's no balance. You can't, breathe. You can't really rest, right? So again, professional over-involvement, like I mentioned, isolation and lack of support from colleagues. So it's important, especially if you can have management to support you. If you're feeling isolated, find ways to communicate and be heard. Find resources within the company to make sure that you're not isolated, right? So the risk of exhaustion linked to the effort required to adapt to the new working environment. The language, the culture, the organization, the working hours. These are some of the impacts, some of the stresses. And sometimes it's feelings of uncertainty and anxiety about character development and prospects. So again, like I mentioned, there's the preparation. Preparing as well is on a personal level, but on a professional level. What are the expectations? What is the contract that you can negotiate that can make sure that as much as possible, you don't feel uncertain? Right. So we talk about expatriation, but in this webinar, it's not a special focus, but I want you to think about repatriation as well, because when we go somewhere, we do expect that we'll come back at a certain moment. So being able to lay out as much as possible a guideline, a roadmap can help you to exteriorize, anticipate as much as possible, and maybe even be able to communicate with the company some of the needs that you have. So the coping strategies that we have. We can have problem-focused coping or emotion-focused coping. So the question is, which one is better at what moment? Right, so with expatriation, the literature suggests that problem-focused coping is better than emotional focused coping. It doesn't mean that you don't do the two of them at the same time, but the problem focused allows you to feel that you have a bit more control and you're a bit more proactive about a situation. For example, with the cultural barrier. Okay, there seems to be a cultural barrier here. What can I do to improve the situation? All right. Again, cultural coach. There was a very interesting webinar that a colleague of mine did on improving your cultural intelligence. So that's something you can do even before, but that's something you can do during the expatriation. So it allows you to be more problem focused. So emotion focused coping could be handling stress. So that's an important thing. That's a good thing. But sometimes emotions, especially if we have avoidance type responses, is that my emotional reaction is to avoid the situation or to pretend that it's not happening. Because for some time it's a bit soothing, I'll just bury my head in the sand. But what happens is that the situation is still going on and you're not addressing it. So trying as much as possible to be problem focused and problem solving it's a much better coping strategy. Social support. We are social beings, whether maybe we have a more outgoing personality or we still have to have some sort of social situation going on. All right, so support from headquarters, from supervisors and subordinates. Is this something that you can explore? Maybe you need to develop a new network in your new home country. That's always positive. But again, please make sure that as much as possible, you keep contact with your network in your country of origin, right? Because at some point, maybe you will have to go back. So try as much as possible to have some connections, even if it's just a virtual coffee with the colleague that you were close with once a month, keep being social. And socialization could be, and I know it depends on the context of the country and the situation that you're in, but it could be a workplace functions. It could be seeing each other outside of work for a drink. Try and make sure that you have social support. And if for whatever reason you've gone and maybe your family has been left in your home country, try and organize as much as possible ways to keep in touch. If it's possible that you maybe with your manager, you negotiate that maybe once a month I need to go see my family for a long weekend. Those are things that, they make sure that you're mentally stable and mentally balanced. Like again, I said, please take the things that you can take. Some of these things seem very, very obvious, I think, but it's important to keep them in mind and practice them as much as possible. So there's the issue of career development, goals and opportunities. This is, again, is the why. Why the expatriation? What were your expectations? Adventure, to advance your career, financially, all right? So when you get there, sometimes our expectations might not be met, right? Maybe the post that you had when before you're an expat is different, Maybe you have more responsibilities, so you have to adapt to that as well. Do you need some more tools for management and leadership? All right. And also, when you go back, that's a whole part of preparation as well. The conditions are going to be different. Conditions in terms of the role, conditions in terms sometimes of the financial situation, because sometimes as expats, we get more financially stable situation, and then when we get back, things are different. Right? So these are things that you keep in mind. And so when you're going back again, it really requires you to prepare as much as possible. Right. So the importance of the network and keeping updated while offshore. So again, even if you're not working on a day-to-day, you've changed countries, maybe you've changed subsidiaries, try and stay as up to date on the things that are happening with your other colleagues. Traveling, again, depending on the situation of the country, right? Experience the culture as it is versus trying to have the same experiences as in the home country. It's not going to be the same. There are some things that are going to be similar, The food is going to be different. The light in the air, the weather is going to be different. So it doesn't mean completely abandoning some of the things that you did in your home country. That's not the case. It's about seeing the things that you can import with you, right? So I used to be very active physically in my home country. Oh, you can be active physically in this country as well, So seeing the things that you can and experience the culture. It's not judging. It's just seeing the differences that are there and, seeing the things that you can take and the things that you can leave. And this brings us to the third part of our webinar, how to effectively manage your stress. Like I said, things will happen. Life will change. Things will evolve. Some of these things, we have no control over them. In the same way, you can't control the culture of where you'll be. So knowing that, okay, I like to do a physical exercise. If you stretch out your hand, I hope you're all sitting comfortably. Marie-Gabrielle, I can see you. So if you're not going to do the exercise, I'll see. So stretch out your hands, wave them in front of you. So this is out of your control. The language, the culture, the fact that, there's no vinegar in my French fries, this is beyond maybe my control. And when I fold my arms, these are the things that are within my sphere of influence. So you can't outright control them, but you can influence them. I can go to the stores, I can find the vinegar, I can put the vinegar, in my French fries myself. So I'll eat from home. All right. And then there are things, this, when you put your hands closer to you, these are the things that are within your control. Knowing these things helps us alleviate anxiety, helps us alleviate ruminations, because sometimes we tend to focus on the things that we cannot control. I don't know about you, but I think 2020 was a very good example of the things we couldn't control. We couldn't control when we were going out. We couldn't control when this was going to end. And this was very hard for a number of people. But concentrating on the things that you can, for example, I can learn how to communicate better. I can take care of my body and my mind. I can do sports. I can drink water. I can, I can rest. And the rest. It's about being able to. So if you have time, sit down and see the things that are within your control and things that are outside of it. When they're outside, it's too far away. I can't. And building up your resilience. So, okay, 1, be aware of your circles of influence. 2, build up your resilience. And I'd like to think that with each expatriation experience, we build up some sort of resilience, So try as much as possible to make sure that mentally, emotionally, behaviorally, you're working on your flexibility and your ability to adapt. And resilience is the ability to withstand adverse events and stressful situations without falling apart. It doesn't mean that you're not affected. Again, stress affects all of us. Change affects all of us. Even moving from one place to another, you've got, the books, the clothes, So it's actively and positively coping with stress. So not feeling that this is just happening to you. No? And it goes back to what we were saying. Problem solving, focusing works better than just emotional problem solving, like the strategies like we said. So adjusting to a new reality. Plan A, plan B didn't go well. Plan C, right? It's about allowing yourself to be buoyant. Okay, sometimes I won't be able to dive in. Maybe I can just float, right? And rebounding as well. So these are things like always want to mention that these are skills that we can learn. And sometimes we'll rebound better than other times because there are other factors that are involved that sometimes you can't control. But resilience is being able to identify your strengths. I'm a very outgoing person. I don't have a hard time, integrating in a certain situation. That could be a strength that you have. Practice mindfulness. Okay, so mindfulness, I think we hear so much about it, but I like to think of it in terms of those moments of calm, of silence, those moments allow you to rest, not just emotionally, but also on a neurological level. Do you know there's some functions in our brains and in our minds that can only happen when we're at a time of rest? That means even when you're eating, don't eat in front of your laptop. Sit somewhere by the window where you're just looking out. Nothing is going on. You're not concentrating on anything. Just eat mindfully. It seems silly, it seems small, but these things allow our minds to rest because we are treating so much data all the time. From the moment we wake up, our phones, notifications, this, that, our minds need some rest as well, right? So cultivate optimism, right? So it's not fake optimism saying, oh, everything is fine when things are not okay. It means that try actively to go towards the positive things that you can control, right? Having a good evening, maybe just talking with friends, going out, maybe reading a book, and try to avoid some of the exceedingly negative information that we have, especially maybe it could be on the news, and monitor your thoughts and understand them. And with monitoring your thoughts, I always want to get back. Our minds and bodies are related. So you can tell, I think, with time, when you're starting to feel a bit stressed, when your thoughts are turning to the negative. Even your posture changes, you're hunched back, the way you're sitting, the way you monitor those things. Because sometimes the brain, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, but it sometimes likes to repeat itself because it thinks by repeating, it will find a different outcome. But what happens is that you're stuck in a spiral where you're not just thinking of the negative things, right? So emotions, we have them all the time. We even have emotions right now during this webinar. Embrace them, don't judge them, right? And try to understand them. Okay, so there's a wheel of emotions, but we're going to see that. Spend time with your loved ones as much as possible, share positive news, and helping others. All right, so helping others isn't as altruistic as we think it is. I'm sorry to say. It's good to help other people, but helping others also reminds us that we have something to give, we have something to share. We're capable of certain things, right? And I think of situations like depression, which is pathological disorder. We have these negative thoughts, negative self-image. But when we go out and help people, it helps you to see yourself as you are, not in the negative way that the voice is saying, but in the positives. So sometimes we can't be our own mirrors. Other people have to be our mirrors for us. They help us, right? And again, I don't want to say eat 5 fruits and vegetables a day. That is true. The physical part, our bodies help our mind so much. They carry the traces of all the difficulties that we're handling. So you need to take care of your body as well. You need to make sure you get as enough rest as possible, eat healthy food, drink water, and practice physical exercise. And the science and the literature shows us that physical exercise helps people, especially when we're struggling with depression or chronic stress. Why? Simply because it releases those feel-good hormones. The athlete's high when I've been running for 20 minutes, but I still feel so light. And those feel-good hormones, they last longer than anything, and they lower your cortisol levels. And this goes into the zone of the things that you can control. And I don't know, maybe we might have some physical disabilities. Find out what sports you can practice, whatever your situation is. All right. So resilience is letting go of the things that we can control. It's a skill. Consciously, again, it's always about being conscious. Identify, this is a bad habit. I was told that to be a valuable member of society, I have to work myself to the ground. Maybe not. Maybe I need to rest a bit. All right. And understanding the things that hold us back. Right. So the power in letting go, it's not resignation. It's the opposite. Letting go is it opens our minds, allows us to look at ourselves with empathy. and it permits a feeling of going forward. All right, so again, identifying things that you can or cannot control is not a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. And Marie-Gabrielle, I have 6 minutes left. I'm trying to to hurry up, but we will give you the slides. Oh,
Great.
all right, all right. So the skills to improve. We always have skills to improve. Sometimes these are things that we have within ourselves, acknowledging that, oh, I have this skill. It's good. It's good sometimes to give yourself a pat on the shoulder. It's not a bad thing. So understanding specific needs, your own and maybe the people around you. People need to be heard. They need to be heard. They need to be seen. Huh? And in Zimbabwe, to say hello, we say sawubona, meaning I see you, I hear you. All right. And the need to be understood. All right. So in a workplace setting, maybe I've just moved. I'm still adapting to my post. I need some things to be simplified. All right. Okay. A, B, C. And also, sometimes if we're in a management position and we're giving maybe a new colleague who just arrived, work, try to simply, it's not talking down to them. It's simplifying because they're juggling a lot at the same time, right? There's work, but there's also, the personal life that they're also adapting to. People need to be given concrete instructions, all right? And people need to be encouraged with positive, sincere reinforcements. It's not just, clapping for everything. It needs to be sincere, even though, and this I think is also a cultural thing as well, where in some cultures it's very easy to say, oh, you did a good job, that was great. And then in some cultures it's, oh, you did a good job, oh, but yeah, that's your job, so I shouldn't say anything. No, it's important for people to be encouraged. And again, when it comes to burnout, I didn't mention this. There's this dimension in burnout where there's protective and risk factors. One of the biggest protective factors against burnout is recognition, feeling seen and appreciated for your efforts. That is a very, very big protective factor. So this isn't just about, patting people on the shoulder. It's about being able to recognize their qualities. And then that means that they'll feel more comfortable to communicate when they're not, when they're not doing so well. Communication is a two-way street. All right. So we need to learn like nonviolent communication, but that starts with being conscious of the things that you need and being able to voice them out. Maybe I need once a month to have this take place. All right. And like I said, it's a two-way street. Are we able to be active listeners? All right. Are we understanding? Don't interrupt. Look at the person in the eye and don't judge. So as much as we expect people to be active listeners to ourselves, but this is something that we need to practice as well. Emotions, this is the wheel of emotions. We have so many. Sometimes you feel them at the same time. I really, really like the Disney movie Inside Out. In French, it's vice versa, where it deals with emotions. This is the second one that came out last time. It's a very interesting movie that helps us to understand our emotions as much as possible. And I would advise, if you have kids, I think it's starting from 6 years old where they can watch it. If you're going to expatriate and going with your family, maybe just watch these movies as well. It helps them to articulate and have visual symbolisms of what they're feeling or or what they're going through. And with emotional intelligence, again, this is a skill. This is something that we can acquire. It's the ability to understand and manage your own emotions. Self-reflection. That means then you're not just constantly projecting things onto others or others not constantly projecting things onto you. It's about self-regulation as well and empathy. And these things happen when we take the time for ourselves, right? And I think with different situations in life, we stop having time for ourselves. You have so many different little post-its around you. I am this, I am that, I am that. but the fundamental person inside needs to have time to develop and understand where they are. All right. And it's the ability to understand what others are experiencing and to see things from their perspective. And right now, I'm just going to stop sharing. I'm going to go to this YouTube video because I think when I share from the PowerPoint, it's 12. Marie-Gabrielle, what are we going to do? Can I finish up real quick?
Yeah. Take
Yes.
5 minutes to finish.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So I hope I'll be able to share this video. Okay. It's coming in a few seconds. I'll send the link as well, just in case I'm unable to. I hope you can hear it.
Now the screen.
Can you hear the video?
Launch it. No.
I think there's no sound.
No, there's no sound.
No
Okay.
Maybe you can put the link of the video into the
Yes,
conversation.
absolutely.
So that people can watch it.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing to do. All right. So this is a quick video about empathy versus sympathy, meaning that, and again, empathy, it's for other people, but it's for yourself as well, because we sometimes put so much pressure on ourselves and we don't realize that maybe, okay, we need to be a bit more gentle. So this is the presentation, you will receive it. And these are some of the literature that we used for expat situations. So you can maybe, buy the book or, find some of these articles online. Yeah, and just educate ourselves as much as possible and be conscious of some of the issues that we have. All right. Thank you so much. We could spend 2 hours together. Next time, maybe Marie-Gabrielle will schedule a longer session.
And Sumia is asking if it will be another session. Yeah.
Are there any subjects that you would like to address in the next webinar? It would be interesting to have your point of view, and if you have any questions or if you want to talk about some subjects in the next webinar, don't hesitate to say it to us. But thank you very much for your appreciations. It's really great to know that you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And thank you, Patricia.
It alleviates my stress. Thank you so much.
Yes. And thank you for a tone of voice, which is very, very peaceful. It's a pleasure to hear you. In addition to what you are saying, of course.
Well, thank you. And for next session, if you'd like. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we could do a breathing exercise sometimes just to show you the body scan. That would be a great one. Sorry.
It's very nice. Good. Breathing exercises at work. When you don't have time to relax, to focus, after lunch, I always do breathing exercises. So I highly recommend it to you.
It's true. And we appreciate it. We're also trying to do it.
Don't hesitate to visit the platform through your Previnters members area. It's available at any time, so you can really learn information, do some tests, and more if you need more, of course. So
and you have other webinars of Patricia and other psychologists, of course.
And other exactly.
There are other ones.
And I really recommend improving your cultural intelligence with our coach, Kirsten Brenner. It's a very good one. It's in English and in French. It's available.
Maybe you can write it on the conversation.
Okay. Improving your cultural intelligence. There we go. And I think you can download the slides as well when you get to the webinar. I included the link.
We will send you the slides and the replay of the webinar. Yeah, so you will have everything on Monday evening, Paris time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good day or evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Have a really nice
Take
day,
care.
evening, night. Bye-bye.
Bye.